Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. For those who are new here, my name is Giselle, and in this channel I bring faith-based content, encouragement, TTC, lifestyle, you name it, we talk about it. And in today's video, I want to talk about feeling like a failure, because this is something that is very, very common, especially for us ladies. When we can't accomplish something, we tend to feel like failures. And not just us ladies, also men can probably feel this way as well. But let's get into it and let's talk about ways that you can cope with feeling like a failure. What is failure, right? Why do we feel like we're failing? One of the main reasons why we're feeling this way is because you're not meeting the expectations or the goals that you have either set for yourself or that someone else set for you. So when we don't accomplish these goals or expectations, we are very down on ourselves and we're very hard on ourselves. And I, for one, can tell you this is me to the T. Not always do I feel like a failure, but half the time I'm like, man, I completely missed it. And these are some of the things that I've been practicing when I start feeling like a failure, or when I feel like I'm starting to have that kind of thought of I'm failing at this. These are some of the ways that I have coped, or that I'm kind of practicing to cope when this arises in my life. So one of the things that I'm learning in coping with feeling like a failure is separating failure from my identity. And in other words is, Giselle, remember that your failure is a setback, but it isn't a reflection of who you are as an individual. Meaning, because I did not make it once, or I did not meet that once, doesn't mean that everything else that I do, I'm not achieving in, right? So I'm basically trying to make sure that I, in my brain, in my head, understand that the failure is just part of the process, right? I failed once, I can get up and do it again and do it again until I'm actually succeeding. It is not part of my identity. It's not part of who I am as an individual. Number two, learn from my failure. This is very important. What can we learn from our past failures, our current failures, and we're gonna have future failures, unfortunately, right? But what can we learn from the things that we're failing at? So I'm gonna do a very broad, generic one, and you might be like, Giselle, that is not relevant to my life, but as an example, I have this recipe that I found online and I want to do it, and I actually tried to make this recipe and it turned out to be disastrous. Now this has happened to me multiple times, and my husband's such a sweetheart. He is so kind, and he's like, you know what, it's okay, we'll just go out to eat somewhere, and he makes it up like that. But internally, I'm like, I failed at this recipe. It should have been a simple recipe. I had all the instructions, all the measurements. What did I do wrong, right? And so what do I learn from that? And I have to go back and think about, what step did I forget? What step did I do wrong? Or what step did I do my way? Because I was like, no, I can do it this way. And then I learned from that. And so when I do the recipe again, it actually turns out pretty darn good. And it's because I have learned that I have to follow those particular directions for my entree to come out the way that it's supposed to be. So even though it's a small example, but we have to learn from our failures. What are we learning in general in our lives? That this situation made me fail. What can I learn from it to make me a better person in the next time that I do this, or even to help someone else out so that they don't fail in the same way that we have failed. Another thing we have to also do in this process, right, of feeling like a failure is think about the positives, right? We have to shift our perspective to think positive. All those negative thoughts that were like, oh, I can't do it again, I didn't do a great job at it, I failed at this, or I failed at that. Let's take it and switch it around, right? Let's say that I can do it. Let's say, instead of saying, well, I sucked in this step and that's why I failed, well, let's improve on this step. Let's make sure that we're shifting our perspective to a positive mindset versus a negative mindset. Because if we keep thinking negative, we're just gonna end up back into this negative cycle of, I feel like a failure. And that's what we're trying to get out of initially. Now, most successful people will tell you that part of their journey was failing. And sometimes I, for one, I know I'm very big on this. I'm like, I always tell my husband, I can't do it here on YouTube, or I can't do it on Instagram, or I'll never be a great content creator. And he's like, you're only gonna learn from your failures. And I watch a lot of YouTubers and they all say the same, right? Like, I started off this way, but now I'm doing it this way. They're learning from their failures. They're changing their perspective. So just keep that in mind. You're not the only one who's failing at something. We all in life are failing at something, but it's how we take it, how we perceive it, and how we change our perspective on it and turn it around so we can actually be successful. Another one is get support. Get people on your side who are gonna understand your failure, who are gonna help you in the process of uplifting you versus putting you down even more than what you probably already feel. So it's very important that we have that support around us, that it's positive. And lastly, move forward from this, right? Take away key points that you have learned in this failure, in this particular failure, or that you are currently facing, right? Take key points from it and just move on and do it again if it's something, if it's a project, if it's, I don't know, a goal to do a 5K, to whatever it is, right? Take key points that you've learned in this process, in this journey, and move forward, right? We have a whole life ahead of us, and we just need to continue moving forward and not look back at what we failed at, but what we're gonna conquer on next. And I want to look at it into a faith perspective. Proverbs 24:16 says, "For the righteous falls 7 times and rises again." The word is telling us that we're gonna fall time after time after time, but every time we will rise again because God's righteous hand is gonna be with us. Psalms 73:26 says, "My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever." The psalmist is also telling us, my heart is gonna fail. I'm gonna fail time after time, but God is my portion and God is my strength. So remember always, when you feel like a failure, take a moment, take a deep breather and say, God is my strength. My heart fails, but God is my strength. I may fall 7 times, but I will rise again even stronger because of the perspective and the positivity thoughts that I'm going to take on to the next level that I'm going to go into. So just remember, we all go through this. We are all facing some kind of failure in our lives, but don't stay in that mentality. Move forward from it. Let God be the one who's guiding you. Pray about it and have God help you out of this. And always remember, think positive. Always, always, always think positive. And so I hope that you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. It helps me know that I'm on the right path. It also helps reach out other individuals who are currently feeling like they're failures and they just need a little bit of word of encouragement in their lives. Also, comment down below ways that you may also cope with failure. When you're feeling like you're failing at something, what do you do to kind of get out of that mentality? And what helps you get going and moving and pushing forward so that way you can actually achieve your goals and expectations in your life. If you have not yet joined my YouTube fam, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below, join the family, and I hope that you guys all have a wonderful day, morning, evening, afternoon, whenever you're watching this. And yeah, so stay blessed everyone and always think positive. All right, have a good one guys. Bye.